Space, the final frontier. Is it really the final frontier? Frontier, I think they usually refer to mean like an unexplored area, right? Like an unexplored challenge for humanity's need to explore.
I would argue that the like bottom of the ocean, less understood and maybe explored than space.
So that's one right there.
I think also with space being like the final frontier, with that sort of phrase, it is sort of implied it's this like big unknown, which space is, and yet all of the travel they actually in a part of the galaxy, it's like within Federation, they established this. Yeah. They're not actually going out and seeking new life, whatever. It's like, oh hey, here's like planet blah blah blah, where like the so-and-so people live. Like, they already know all this stuff.
Yeah. Aliens are humanoids.
Couple ridges over here, and there's an alien.
Yeah, some pointy ears.
Sometimes even be bothered with the pointy ears. It's the original series budget.
The other frontier might be like inner space or like down at the molecular level. You get down to molecules and quarks and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's like another frontier that we're not quite at the bottom of the trench, if you will. So that's two right there. So they're lying already. Space. Go ahead.
I feel like the human body is still, there's so much we don't know about like why our bodies do things that they do.
She's talking about those like torture experiments about how much the human body can handle.
but like there are like rare diseases where they have no idea why the body produces that or does that, right? That being attack itself in the way that it has chosen to attack itself. And I feel like that's, I don't know. I feel like we still have lots of like unexplored frontiers, and maybe frontiers that are a bit more valuable to be pouring energy and effort into. Trump. You guys have a space force.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. You're jealous?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Nobody is jealous of you.
What has your space force actually achieved?
They have schmancy uniforms, I think.
I don't even
Steve Carell's spoof show.
I mean, I'm a bad American. I'm planning on leaving as soon as I can. So
have you seen?
Circumstances that might make you a good American.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's much to. I don't know.
I can't do that.
Is there some like original Greek meaning of the word voyage that might contradict? No. All right.
Because I don't know it.
Also,
moving on then.
It would be a Latin, not Greek root word probably, because it's a French borrow word.
So it's probably Latin.
That one they got right. It's 5-year mission.
They thought they were getting 5 series.
They canceled it after only 3 years. That was a little presumptuous of them.
It's certainly like an interesting marketing plan, though.
Yeah.
Just establish from the beginning.
Yeah, this is going to be 5 seasons.
Yeah, but then also, like, what if it was like incredibly popular and was making lots of money? Would they really ended it after 5 seasons? Be like, hey, at the beginning we said 5 years.
They would have just on the 6th season been like, it's 10-year mission.
right.
Or it's continuing mission, which I think they changed it to.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they wanted to leave it open-ended. To explore strange new worlds.
But they've already explored them, like Cora said. Or at least established that they're within the Federation.
A lot of times, yeah, but they've found some new ones every once in a while, right?
Voyager does more like exploring of unknown stuff than Enterprise.
Well, that's true, but that's because they're way out in the Delta Quadrant.
I mean, I know it's an accident.
Flex my nerd muscles there.
Stuff, but they still do, whether it's intentional or not. The end result.
So the Next Generation and Enterprise do a lot of strange new worlds.
Yeah, like in the original series, even when they found like strange planets, it's like they found it because there was a distress call from like humans who had already been there before. But yeah, the later series, I guess, get into that a bit more. To seek out new life and new civilizations. That's kind of pretty straightforward, I guess. They mostly do that. To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Oh, colonialism! Hooray!
Also, one of my favorite things I've seen, there's like this fan art I've seen, which is like a Starfleet recruiting poster with a whole bunch of women sort of pointing out like, oh, where no man has gone before, implying that women have already done it. So it's like, hey, man, it's your galaxy too. Like, go out there. So that's what I personally believe.
The way of dealing with the ingrained sexism of that phrase. they changed it to Where No One Has Gone Before.
Right, yeah, Star Trek The Next Generation.
At the end of The Undiscovered Country, the 6th Star Trek movie, Kirk goes through the speech and he says, boldly going where no man, and then corrects himself to where no one. So they were aware by the early 90s, actually, it should have been where no one has gone before.
Or maybe women just got there first, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
sorry, man,
I
you were
like
too
this
slow.
subversive reading.
What?
I really like this subversive reading, especially when you consider how instrumental women were in the original Star Trek in the first place, in like getting it off the ground.
Well, maybe that's why so many of the supposedly new planets they found were already had humans on them, because the women got there first.
Exactly. The women already did everything, and it's just the men sort of like going along, so they're like, oh yes, we're pioneers, we're exploring the galaxy,
and the women are like, oh sweetie, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Do you want your Lincoln Logs?
Exactly.
Real quick, is there any way that you would anything you would add or take away or tweak it if you were gonna sum up? I can always tell Nicole always has something to say.
I think that last line is so problematic. You know, the idea that no one has been there before, except for that the whole point is to go find new cultures
exactly.
and new civilizations. So there are people there. It is like very, very distinct colonial rhetoric.
Could they change it to no one from Earth has gone before?
No one from the Federation? I don't know. You know, because Spock isn't human. If it hadn't been written in the 60s and like it wasn't being transported forward through the generations and decades as new iterations of Star Trek are made, they would have to like completely redo that speech because people would have a lot of problems. On like a very granular level.
Yeah, maybe just like scrap the whole thing and just like start over again. Just
space.
Just space. That's it. That's the intro.
Catchy.
I like
Easy
that.
to remember.
That sounds like if Trump was gonna come up with the
slogan for Space Force.
Right. He'd get all these like scientific options and he'd just toss them all out and just be like, just call it space.
Space.
Well, so real quick, it was really funny. You and Nicole were both like, from my perspective, we're both turning your heads and I couldn't hear Phil, so it looked like you guys were just turned to have a little conversation together. Makes no sense, but anyway,